All right. I think it's working. Okay. Hi, everybody. It is Friday, so it's art journal demo time. And still trying to work out this Facebook room thing, so I'm hoping it's working. And the reason I use it is so that I can switch between this, hi everybody, and between this. Nope. My camera's not on, which is why it's not showing up. My the document camera. Okay, give it a second. Come on. Well, today I'm going to be talking about, I wanted to focus on stencils. Obviously, they're one of the things that I use the most. And so I wanted to show you I went through my stencil stack, and I want to show you some of the things. There we go. So I can switch to this perspective, which is very useful. And now you're not looking at it because there we go. Okay, so today's stencils. You know, I use stencils all the time. I actually I decided too that I needed to go through my texture paste and pull out some of the ones that were a little on the full side, i.e. I hadn't really used them. Hi, Michelle. And so I was, my goal today was to push myself to use some things that I haven't used in a while. The journal, and I forgot to go and gesso. No, I was going to gesso, and I forgot that I was going to do that. So I'll just go back to the one that I was working on last week, which is, it ended up, this is nice, you know, it's got a lot of color and texture on it, but for me, it doesn't have nearly enough. So my style is to get several layers deep on every page, and so it's not finished, and so I'm going to keep going with it. And so I was going through my pile of stencils. I thought it was worth talking about some of them with you guys. I tried to pick ones today that either I have in stock for sure, or have, you know, at least have sold, or ones that I can show you how to make yourself. These are Finnabair's new ones, newer ones. I haven't used this one mostly because I'm a little, I think, nervous about how well it's going to come through the way I use these things. You know, stencils, like I use them with thick mediums, and I can just see this being a one-use stencil in that way unless I wash it, which is I'm not inclined to do. So you can see that I've already kind of gummed up some of these smaller ones. So those are her new ones. These are two that I made using a cutting machine. So probably my scan and cut, where I printed something on cardstock and then had my scan and cut around the outside of the colors. And then let's see, I have, so those are ones that you could make yourself at home. You could use, you know, die cuts and punches and things like that. I'm a big fan of these cardboard ones from, I can't remember, it's Faber-Castell, but they've named the brand something else, Design and Create or something like that. And it comes in, like you get a bunch in one set. And I find because I don't wash them, they end up sealed. And so they end up lasting a lot longer than you would think. You do have to be a little careful that you don't leave them to get stuck on something, because when you pull them up, they will tear. But other than that, these have lasted. I've had this one in use for about 1.5 years. Let's see. I have, these are Dilutions, so Diane Reveley's stuff. She has this nice concept where she has 4 stencils in one. You can see I've used this one pretty religiously. And this one, I think it's Paper Artsy or Darkroom Door. I'd have to actually go and double check. This is an alphabet stamp. Actually, I think it's Darkroom Door. Again, these fine ones tend to be short-lived with me because I don't wash them, and so they end up clogged. Of course, I've got a fair number of Tim Holtz in my collection, from greatly used to barely used. Dina Wakely. This one I got 2 years ago at Creativation and have used the, this heck out of it. This is more of a mask than a stencil. This is from, I want to say All in Create. This is very much their style. I tend not to use masks so much just because, like, visually when I'm looking through my stack, I don't see them that often. This is one of my favorite. This is just an Americana. I put this down all the time. This one I have lots of in the store. This is a Prima. I think this might actually be Finnabair. Yes, this is an old Finnabair stencil I have somewhere. And now we're getting to the ones that I actually have on my probably time to retire pile. So when I say that, I mean that they're so obscured or they're so thick. I don't know if you can see just how thick this is, but that's a good, millimeter of paint on there. And so when I do my stenciling with them, I'm really not getting the stencil image anymore. It doesn't mean that I don't like what I get, but it's starting to lose its function as for the shape that it is. And so these ones I might end up throwing into something, just actually gluing it down. This one is very substantial. So I wanted to show you those. My goal would be to then pull new ones out of my inventory and start fresh with new ones. Or I do have a friend who has reassured me that she can get this paint off if I were to give her all my stencils. She said she soaks them. She's actually begged me to let her do it. I just can't, parted from my stencils that long. But yeah, so apparently you can do it, but chances are I'll just throw those in as they are. So a little thing about stencils. I'm going to start with this one. I haven't used it in a while, partly because I used it so much. Part of me was like, don't be boring. Do something else. And I'm going to throw down, this ice. Seth, after there's a bunch of new products coming out, I have ordered them all. He also has new colors. He's teased that he has new colors coming out. This is his ice. This is translucent, glossy medium. And I love it because it is translucent, which means that when you put it down, you get both a hit of the color, but also can see through it, depending on how thin you get it, to the images or color you have underneath. So it's a nice add-on to what I do in terms of making layers. And you can also use it as a sealant if you want to change the color of something and spread it over all of it and seal that piece up, if it is acrylic. So yeah, I have all of Seth's new stuff coming in. I have a bunch of his new stamps from Paper Artsy. They are already here. I just need to put them in the system. If you come back at 1, I might give you a sneak preview of those. Yeah, I'm going to go back to, as soon as he says he's traveling again, I'm going to go back to begging him to come out here. He has indicated that he's open to it when he has time, which who knows what that means because he's a very busy person. So there's some layers already in, and hopefully you can see the translucence. I'm not sure how much, yeah. There's a really good example of the translucence. You can get the hit of the color, plus the interaction with the color underneath. Hey Renee, I'm not going to be using ephemera today. My art journaling is really just whatever I feel like on that day. So today I wanted to focus on my textures and my my stencils. But come back at 1 and maybe you can see what I have in the Prima box that showed up. You might be happy if you're looking for ephemera. A lot of art journalists often end their pieces with a piece of ephemera or a saying or something on the top. It's a very common technique to sort of add a focal point, and oftentimes, it reflects where that artist is in that moment, and it's a really great way to finish a piece. Mine often don't get to that point because I just don't do that. I tried early on in my exploration of art journaling, and I tried a lot of people's styles, and it was when I let that go, that idea that there had to be a finished look and art focus at the end, it wasn't until I let that go that I started to really find my groove for myself. So, but a lot of people really enjoy that sort of last addition to sort of give a piece something. Which is why I have a lot of that stuff in the store. So this, what I was just using, that was ice as well. This is the white pearly color snowball, and it's a little less translucent than the others, and it's because I think it's because of the pearlescence, actually mica. So you can see it. I hope you can see it. You can see it's a nice white layer on top. If you don't remember, I don't know if you can see the sparkle from the dragons or the, actually I think this was Phoenix, the color that I used. This is Finnabair's texture paste. I'm massively behind in getting things up on the website because they just had so much show up. Yesterday I was babysitting. Babysitting my niece. It took a day to do that because she's in town just for a little while. But the day before, I spent the whole day cataloging Stamperia. So you'll notice that's all up there, and you might see some of that today in our product reveal. I'm going to throw down some 3D paste. This is the opaque paste from Icing, which is an Aladdin product, and this is their turquoise because I like turquoise. If I wasn't busy enough, I'm also taking art classes at CS in order to get some studio credit. Thinking ahead a little bit, and we just did a color chart in oils, and the one color on this list, it's missing turquoise. So gotta remind myself that I have to keep an eye on the time because they kick me off when I'm the only person in a Facebook room. After a while, they assume I'm assuming they assume I'm a robot because they kick me off, even though I'm talking.
It's 12 hours.
Okay, thank you. It's Kendall. She's in the background these days, helping out. Okay, so this is that Holtz Stencil and the turquoise Icing paste. And just an explanation, if you go to the website now, you'll notice things are nested into single products. So you might find that we can't post just to turquoise anymore. We have to put the link to all the Icing pastes, which means you get to see them all at once. Okay, so when I look at this now, I can see I have a bunch of designers and products represented. I can see I've got Finnabair, I have Diane Wakely's and Tim Holtz, and I think this is also this is a Stamperia stencil, and Icing paste, and the Icing dye sprays from Seth Apter. I think I also have the distress spray from Tim Holtz from last week. So lots of stuff going on here. All this stuff's in the store. You can always ask to what we're working with. I'm working with. I've got. I can see your comments and I can respond. Okay, I'm talking too much. I'm kind of screeched to a halt here. All right, let's do this. Let's do it. This is, well, I'm assuming it's Irish, to be honest, just from, or maybe Elvish from the Hobbit. I don't know if you can see the wording, but it's very fine and it's like Gothic wording. So I'm going to just throw this down. I think this is from Finnabair. It's one of her newer ones. I do have it in stock. And I'm going to use her vintage gold. Oh, where did I put my glasses? Icing paste. I think this is the vintage gold color. Yes, vintage gold. All right, I used this last week as well. You can see that it's pretty thick. It's got a nice gleam to it, and I think it's going to be a nice medium to use with this particular stencil. Now this stencil is going to suffer from the fact that this is not flat, that what I'm putting it on is not flat, because all this detail is so fine, and it's not going to be flat against the surface. So I'm just going to go with it and have it do what it's doing and see. Okay, so I got a little bit of an impression there. If you can see the wording and how it came out. In some places I actually have details on the letters. Not so much here, but it looks splodgy, because it is. But the thing about that is that once I let it dry, I can then come along with something like the brayer and hit the high points of that, and it will bring out the actual words and texture of that. So this is a good experiment with that. Maybe once, I'm not sure I'm going to get it dry in time to do that today, but that is my goal in the long run, is to be able to hit that with something that'll maybe bring out those words. Regardless, it gives me a nice little, energetic, linear look to it. You can tell that it's supposed to be writing, which is kind of nice, even if you can't read it. You should be able to find that stencil too. I don't know if the Finnabair stencil. Try looking under Prima. I'll fix that. Kendall's putting all the links to these things in the comments. So if you're wondering where it is on the website, she's got you covered. So I'm going to do this thing here. I've got some texture here. Oh, let me hit that a little longer. I'm going to scrape this texture paste over the texture I already have. And it wasn't quite dry, so it smeared it a little bit, but I kind of like that when that happens. And there are two things that can happen. It can end up in the dips and valleys of texture and highlight it that way, or I can if I'm careful, I can scrape it across the top of a texture that's already there, and it will highlight that texture, which is what it's doing down here. I don't know if you can see that gleam that I got. So it's better if if I get a little bit of a smear on my wedge and drag it across the top of texture that's already there, it'll pull that texture image out, versus if I scrub it down over it, it'll highlight the edges. So just a little tricks. Of course, you can just throw the texture down, face down as itself. No expectations of it looking like anything else than just gold. All right, here's another color I haven't really used that much. You can tell because it's a nice fat pouch, even though it's been sitting in my bucket for a while. This is the Icing 3D paste, and this is Amethyst, and it looks like it has a little pearlescent to it. Let's see what that looks like when I throw it down. Nope, because not. So it is, actually I can't tell. And this is a Tim Holtz.
That's the 3D texture paste?
This is a 3D texture paste in Amethyst. Aladdin. I got a lesson on how to say Aladdin the other day online. And here's the same thing, only in Mimosa, which is a yellow. Oop, I'm gonna get this open, throw this down. And then, you know, sometimes when it looks just a little splodgy, like in the middle of a spread like that, I come in and add some more color around it to minimize the look of it just being plumped. So you can see that that is interacting now with some of the texture that, or text that was in that one. And it's, you know, that text, that dried really quickly. Pretty impressive. And that was one way to pull out that imagery on that, where it got a little smudgy. It's kind of nice how opaque these texture pastes are, because they really go down as color, which is great. The yellow is called Mimosa. Just think, you know, brunch, Sunday brunch, mimosa. And sometimes when you have texture that's ended up muddy, a spray ink will pull that out again. Let me see what I have spray ink wise. See what happens when I spray this down. This is Crackling Campfire from Tim Holtz. That was one of his mystery colors, like I think the first one, if I remember correctly, a few months ago. Like a year ago, I don't know, lost track of time. Anyway, you can see what happens when you add a spray ink and how it highlights texture and brings out, I don't know if you can see the detail it brought out in my texture. That was kind of missing before that. This is a dye ink. This was the dye ink version, not the oxide. So this is very transparent. It will dry permanently, but it will stay water reactive. So if I add water to it, to the spread, or anything liquid to the spread after this, it will reactivate the color. So it's important to know about the distress products. The paint does not. Once the paint is dry, the distress paints are in one place. They will not re-react. They will not react to moisture. Yeah, I like that yellow too, and it has a nice little pop. All right, I think I'm probably going to have time just to get this kind of dry, and if you have any last questions, shout them out now. Otherwise, bring them to the product reveal at 1. And then we're experimenting on ways to share craft time. And so keep an eye out. It might be tomorrow at noon, so Saturday at noon. I might be online trying something new. It just depends on whether or not we can get it to work. That's why I'm not being more explicit about it. But my goal is to figure out a way for us to interact and craft at the same time. If any of you have had positive experiences with other craft menus on that, just let me know, because I'd like to know how they did it and what you liked about it. All right. It's been a while since I've used spray ink on my pieces, so it's kind of a nice, you know, brings in sort of, it softens some of the texture edges and pulls out some details that sometimes get lost. And I interacts with the color, so like, you know, I've got, it was red, but you can see where I've got purples and dark reds and some oranges that have popped through because of the color underneath. It's so fun about texture and adding texture and color. There, I don't know if you can see what happened there. I might even just leave that alone, but when I did that, all that gold texture popped up from underneath, and now you can really see the actual letters of that particular stencil. Just drag it just a little bit more so you can see even more of it. In the meantime, the color has muddied, so that's what happens. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to play it safe and switch camera views now, and hope that you all are hanging in there, and that I've heard many of you have been vaccinated, and I feel like our population is getting a little closer to being able to hang out again. So it's all good news. I feel it's energizing to think that we're getting there, and I've seen many of you in the shop recently, which is great. Don't forget, you can come in, make an appointment, come in and shop, you know, with your mask on, of course, and all the protocols, but it's been really, really gratifying to have people in the store again. So I hope that you join me at some point, and then come back at 1. We'll be opening boxes, multiple boxes, and talking about new stuff. So thanks for joining me. Stay well.